Illegally Deaf is a podcast about overcoming obstacles. I'm Danny Burnside, and just this year, I was diagnosed with severe hearing loss. Oh, did I mention I'm a professional Hollywood voice actor? Funny how that goes. I've made the decision to own my disability and interview remarkable guests who are thriving in light of being disabled. Welcome to the Illegally Deaf podcast. Doug, how you doing, brother?
Danny, how are you, buddy?
Fantastic. So nice to speak to you, man.
Nice to speak to you, bro. You got a smooth-ass voice, man. Loving it.
Ditto. When I heard your voice, you sent me a voice memo on Messenger, and I was like, man, this guy's got some pipes. Beautiful voice, Doug.
Same thing for you, bro. Like, if I didn't know you were out in L.A., I'd be like, oh, man, you sound like one of my buddies. Are you from the East Coast?
Not at all, but I got that all the time, Doug. I'm from San Diego, but actually when I was super young, I had a little bit of a speech impediment. I had a hard time pronouncing R's. So I'd be like, hey, let's go to the park. I'd like total East Coast style, you know? All the time, my teachers thought we were from the East Coast transplants. I grew up in San Diego.
I would never pin that. Never, ever pig you for an LA person. You just don't sound it. But that's a good thing though, because you got that little bit of a Boston, like that Oz, you know, like Pawtucket, you know, like I have buddies out in Boston area. They'll be like, where we go? We're going to Peabody or Worcester. And I'm like, bro, it's Worcester, it's Peabody. And they're like, wow, your accent. And I'm like, my accent, your accent's crazy right now. So
hilarious. And the funny thing is, I've actually booked one or two smaller political gigs, like small regional stuff that's East Coast, because they think that I'm a local.
Wow, but that's good, man. That's good. That means that you can have regional sound, you know.
Right.
What I mean?
And you know what's funny? My sister had the exact same speech impediment. Both my sister and I had a hard time pronouncing R's. And then around 4th, 5th grade, we just got over it. I don't know what it was.
Interesting. My stepdaughter, I don't like putting the step thing in front of them. I only do that based out of respect for their dad. Their dad's in their life, so I try to show that respect with them. But I've been in their lives for 12 years or so, and she had a wicked shower going. You know, it was all hour. You know, she could not pronounce those R words. But the voice acting training comes in handy when you're able to, you know, teach her and help her with her pronunciation and her diction and articulation and rounding out the words and where to place her tongue, you know. So like I was able to help her, even though she doesn't remember it now because she was like 6, 7 years old. I'm like, no, I helped. She's like, well, didn't you guys get me a therapist? I'm like, we did. We got you somebody to help you, but we also worked with her home, you know. So
you've been in her life quite a long time.
Yeah, man. I met their mother 12 years ago. We've been together. So my stepdaughter, she was 5 and she is now 18. She was just at UConn. Hopefully she goes to UConn. She's super smart. So she got accepted to like 5 out of the 6 schools she went for. Her grade, she could get in anywhere. So, but she was out at UConn yesterday. I'm like, honey, take it all in because I'm sure UConn's a buzz with them being in the Final Four now, championship. So it was a cool thing for her to witness because she's very scholastically smart. And my goal is helping her with that street smart common sense because you need that too. You can't just rely on book smarts nowadays. You got to be able to. And I never thought I'd be a good parent when I was growing up. But there's no manual to being a step parent. You know, you just got to know your role, you know, be there, be present, working from home. It's a big thing for me, Danny, you know, taking care of my family, making sure my animals are good, my assistants are good, because there's no Doug without good assistants. You know, that's very important to me. But back in the day, before I got hurt, it was all about me. I had money, toys. Oh, man, I had a life going. I was about to get married, about to have a child, and broke my neck in a diving accident in 2007. Freak thing. But the people I know now and the people that I'm with and what I'm doing for a career, it would not happen if I didn't break my neck. I found my faith that way. So it's a big thing, Danny, for me is I love people. I love to help people. I love to go to these conferences and get this. I'm 6'5", 280, paralyzed from my chest down. So, you know, flying is not, they don't make it accommodating for people like me. They're not ready for people like me. So when I go flying, I have a whole bunch of video footage that we're putting together. I try to lead by example, bro, you know, and it's not easy. You know, we have these disabilities. Mine's different than yours, but we have an option. It's sink or swim. Do we fight or flight? And I'm not that kind of guy to lay down and just give up. You know what I mean? And I think that maybe God put me here on this planet to inspire other people. When I see people that have bigger disabilities than mine still doing it or trying, where it's not easy. You don't know if your assistant's coming in the morning. You don't know if they're going to bring in baggage. You don't, but you can't start your day until they help get your pants on. And then they got to do certain things. So, it's a triple-edged sword, these things that you want to do for yourself, some physical things you can do, relearn how to do. There's some things that you can't do. So you have to have the ability to handle that. Then you have to verbally direct your assistant to get done what you want done. And then they have to do it the way you want it to be done. So there's a lot of patience and there's a lot of learning. Like you said, when that podcast with Janet that you did, learning is a curve. That's just life. You got to be able to pivot. So my whole life is a pivot, bro. So it's one of those things. I'm never going to say, hey, look at me. Look at me. I'm not that kind of guy. But to see other people say, hey, look at Doug, check out Doug. That's so moving to me, bro. So I appreciate you even reaching out, asking me. It's my pleasure and honor to be here with you, bro. So thank you.
I am fascinated with transformation. I love how you called it a pivot. We're both big sports fans, both former athletes. Yep. Pivoting's a big part of, footwork and sports. Life is about pivoting. I'm fascinated with your story and how you've been able to pivot, Doug.
I appreciate that, Danny. I appreciate that. My story's crazy. I always said I would it's going to make an amazing book. It's funny. The Quadfather was given to me when I was in radio school. And when my ex-fiance, when I first broke my neck, she stayed right by my side, 60 days in the hospital. She was right by my side every day. And she started bringing out the Bible. And I am by far a perfect man. I'm probably the most imperfect person out there. What I got, Danny, is a heart. And I think that's what people need to understand. My faith, it's all based around your heart. People that are gangbangers, drug dealers, drug users, drug addicts, prostitutes. I have this mission that I do every Sunday after church, and I go over into the hood on the streets, and I go up and down the streets with bags of goodies like cookies, crackers, fruit snacks, granola bars, and he's got these bags, and I just roll down my window. I'm like, hey, and depending on the person, like if I see a homie or something, I'll be like, yo, what up, bro? I'll talk to him like that because, if I see an older lady, I'll be like, excuse me, ma'am, and I'll hold out the goodies, and there's a little card in there, inspiring them to not give up or some scripture on the back. I started that like 4.5, maybe 5 years ago. I used to post about it, but then it became more of, instead of bringing awareness to it, it almost became braggy. So I stopped doing it because it's not about that. It's about, like, I'm from the streets, I had a crazy upbringing, but I did a lot of things the wrong way, buddy. My dad always told me I did everything the wrong way. And you got to be able to take it. You got to take those lashes. Life, you got to take those lashes because you know what that does? That builds character. So when I do these streets, I go up and down these streets and I don't give a shit who they are, Danny. I mean, if they could be gangbangers, they could be prostitutes. I welcome all of them. I have, what started out with bags of goodies turned out to be, I bring waters, I got this huge ass cooler that's got, that I just load up with waters and ice. And I give them waters. Then it became like hats, mittens, gloves, sleeping bags, shirts, pants, jackets. I mean, we went to Burlington Coat Factory and spent our own money just to get stuff for other people. Because I'm telling you right now, Dan, there is no better feeling to do something small to help somebody out.
100% agree.
You know what I mean? So that's who I am, man. Wherever God wants me to be, that's where I'm going to be. Like I got to go in the hospital in 2 days for 6-day surgery. It just all starts by just not giving up. So like this pivot thing, one day I'm doing over the bridge and feeding the homeless and driving around this beautiful black van, and they're thinking I'm undercover cop or,
right.
I'm looking to score or something. I'm in a predominantly Black Latino neighborhood, and they're like, what? You're giving out how much are they? You're selling? No, buddy. I'm just giving them out. And now it's been so long that they recognize me when I come through. They know that I'm not here to harm you. And so people that are so nervous, they'll go, well, what if you get carjacked? What if something bad happens? Well, I've talked to thousands of people. I haven't felt threatened once. Even people that are in gangs, they're people. They're trying to feed their families. They are doing the only thing they know how to do.
That's right.
doesn't make them bad people. People just don't drive in that neighborhood, let alone drive in that neighborhood and talk to them. And they are the kindest people. I'm telling you, more people have said, God bless you to me than I have said to them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
bro.
wow,
Like some
wow.
people on the street, they're dirty, they're filthy. You could tell they're on drugs at the time, and they're saying, God bless you.
Right.
It's
Right.
freaking so
That's
powerful.
awesome.
I tell everybody, give me 2 hours of your Sunday afternoon. It'll change your whole life.
It takes
It's
such a
amazing.
unique person to do what you're doing, though, Doug. Mad
I
props.
love it.
It
I
does.
love it.
It
I love
takes
it.
such a unique individual. I have such respect for you for doing that.
I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate that.
Okay, so guys, let me give you a quick introduction, Doug, and then we're gonna get into
Sure,
it. We
sure.
have so much to talk
Yeah.
about. Guys, my
Yeah.
guest today is a voice actor, motivational speaker, and the founder of Over the Bridge Outreach. That's what he was talking about. It's a mission that distributes food, water, clothing, houseware items, and anything else that can better the lives of others to those in need. Doug is an ex-drug abuser and degenerate gambler. Oh, I used to love to gamble too, Doug. We have a lot to talk
Right, bro?
about.
Oh, so
Who has
fun.
completely turned his life around. In 2007, while camping, he dove into shallow water, burst fracturing his C6 and C7 vertebrae, including pinching his spinal cord, instantly resulting in paralysis from the chest down. He's been to over 200 concerts. He's a 6'5" mechanical bull riding force of nature. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome the one and only, the Quad Father, Doug Bartling Jr.
Thank you, Danny. That was wonderful.
The
Wow,
Quad Father is such a cool brand, Doug. Godfather is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, it's a classic. You know, it was given to me actually at the radio school. There was this big, huge, jacked quadriplegic that would come to the gym. And in one of my documentaries that were made from the students, actually, I had an idea at the New School of Radio. It's called the New School of Media in Albany, New York. I said, why don't you guys do a day in the life of a quad? So they took me up on it. They followed me around with cameras and watched how I showered and cooked and got dressed. And so like they made little documentaries out of it. There was some of the students and some of the professors at the new school talking about, because I was trying to get on the radio, and this big jack guy, he was driven in the gym. I wasn't. But on the outside, I was more of a talker. He wasn't. So we got to come and share our strengths and weaknesses with one another. And he gave me the Quadfather shirt, and we even talk about it a little bit. And then when I wore it one time to the radio school, that's all they called me, was the Quadfather, even when I had the shirt on, and then it just stuck. And that was going to be my name for the radio industry. So when I got into radio in 2010, I was doing it for a little over a year, doing news, weather, traffic, but everybody knew me as Dougie B, Doug Bartling. Nobody talked about my disability. Nobody talked about the wheelchair. I wanted that to be known because it was like you said, you know, I come from a past that I've done some things the wrong way, and I changed my life around. And then, you know, you're about to get married and have a kid, and everything's going well. You got a rental property and a beautiful truck and snowmobiles, and life is going great. And you just change your whole life around. You're about to be a dad, and everything's about, and then you have a miscarriage and you broke your neck all within a couple of months.
Oof.
And now it's like, now what do you do? So, you know, we stayed together for a couple of years. You know, that's how I found my faith. And we split up in 2009, 2010. And I went back to Scotia, and I said, well, what am I going to do now? Am I going to go get my bachelor's at Albany, University of Albany, or am I going to do what I wanted to do in the first place? Now that I drive. At the time, I wanted to do radio when I first got hurt, but the government wouldn't pay for me to do that. How would I get there? Could I work the system? Could I work the boards? You know, that it wasn't realistic to them. But then when I was on my own with just my dog and my paralysis, it's like, you ever going to find love again? What's going to happen to your life? Now I'm back in the area where I left. Now I'm around everything that was, you know, I was a golfer, baseball player, basketball. You name the ball, I like to play it, you know, guitar player. Now you have no use of your hands. What do you do? So I went to school for human services to be a social worker. But then I realized social worker is very tough because you have to rely on their insurance to stay in the hospital to get the help. And so if you don't have good insurance, they don't keep you in the hospital. And it's like, I don't want to do that. So I jumped out of it. Instead of doing the bachelor's, I went to radio school, and I found out, man, I'm pretty good at this. And I wanted my own radio show. That's what got me into the radio industry. And after about a year, Dan, of waking up at 2:30 in the morning to get to the radio station at 5 to make minimum wage, and at that time it was like $7.50 an hour. I'm doing live radio for 4 hours for all of these different stations, and I'd make like $40. and I'd fall asleep on the wheel at the wheel on the driving home, and the health started to decline. And finally, I had my option to have my own show. They gave me on another radio station, said you can run it any which way. You can have the show go the way you want it, sports, whatever music I wanted to play and whatever I wanted to talk about. It was absolutely everything I was working hard for, doing news, weather, and traffic. But I had to wake up at 2:30 in the morning to drive an hour to be for 5 o'clock, do the morning show. And I said, I can't do it. My body won't allow me to do that. If I had to do that every day, something bad would happen driving home. I was falling asleep driving the wheel. I can't even count how many times when I did it for news, weather, traffic, and I declined it.
Wow.
It was one of the hardest decisions. But when I declined it, I said, well, what am I going to do now? And I'm like, well, let's get into motivational speaking. And motivational speaking, actually, that's how I found voiceover. But I found out motivational speaking was something I love, man. And I'm like, well, how do I get this? How do I get this to happen? So I took a 250-mile radius, north, south, east, west from Albany, New York, and looked up every middle school, high school, wrote a letter about what I would talk about, and I emailed every vice principal, principal, and superintendent within those areas. I'm talking at least a couple thousand schools that I emailed with nothing to show them. A couple schools said, yeah, come in. So when I got my first school, I said, let's film it. So I got the equipment. I got all of this stuff. I had the little documentary from the new school of radio. So I showed that for the kids. And I would have auditorium, between 200, 300, 400 kids, and you could hear a pin drop. To keep that many kids still means you have their attention. And my goal was to let one of them walk away saying, you know what, I'm going to go after my dream. I'm going to do something. It doesn't matter if you're disabled or not. Some of these kids, you're getting bullied. They got mental illness. Their home is a mess. Just because you come from shit doesn't mean you are shit. It means you have a purpose. Everybody needs to know that they have something special they can offer. So that was my opportunity to inspire some kids and, motivate them, encourage them, make them laugh. I loved it. And then I found voiceover and I love that even more. So I'm like, okay, so now what do you do? So I got into training. I started training with a local coach. And I thought it was amazing. I'm like, all right, I'm a radio guy. I'm a motivational speaker. What are you going to tell me that I don't know about my voice? Voice acting is going to be a cinch. Okay. No, wrong concept. Wrong. That's a misconception right there. All you radio guys out there, voiceover is absolutely good for radio guys, but there is a lot to learn. That led me to making my own Wix website. But Danny, I got to tell you, I started making my Wix website. I did it myself, which I will mention, never make your own website. It's pay the money and have somebody to do it for you. Trust me, it will be a lot easier. Then I had my motivational speaking services on it. I had my voiceover stuff. I had my disability advocacy services on it. It was so complex. It was just like, this is my whole life. Here you go. But you know what it did? Everything appeared to be a hobby. When you have that many things that you're doing, you have to pick a lane. Especially with somebody like myself, you got to rely on assistants getting you up. And do they come in on time? Do they come in with baggage? Are they crying? Are they angry? Are they distant? Can you trust them in your home? So there's no really for me to be able to get dressed. I like to do everything on my own as much as possible, but you have to rely on other people to start your day, to go through the process of being with somebody and then going and then, then you separate and now you're on your own and you're doing, it takes a lot of drive. And my faith came in really handy to keep me not from giving up, going after something that I believed in. Radio, I believed in because I wanted my own show. Motivational speaking, I believed in because I wanted to inspire kids. And then voice acting came in and I'm just like, I love this. I reached out to Bob Bergen one day, 6 years ago. Be bold and say, hey, Bob, would you go over my stuff? Would you take a look at me? And he wrote back. And he wrote back, Danny, and said he would. Now, I almost lost my mind. And I was like, oh, my God, he wrote back. This is amazing. Anybody that loves cartoons, you got to know who these people are. So I just admired him. And I was like, this is it. I'm a diamond in the rough. He's going to find, I can't, oh, my God, this is amazing. And he went over my stuff, and I got a 2-page letter from him.
Wow.
Saying, your demos are amateur. Everything on your website is this. You've only been trained with one coach. You got this, you got that, you got this other thing. And I'll tell you, it took a big punch into my gut saying, damn. I thought, oh my God, this is it. Diamond in the rough. And then it went to the complete opposite. And I remember looking at my girlfriend and I said, what do you do? What do you do when you get that note? You don't know what you don't know. And then you learn and you grow. And so I took Bob's advice and I just kept doing it and trying to get different things. And I got rid of the Wix website. But at that time, I just started one step at a time, Danny. It was like, okay, I'm a guy with a disability. I only make XYZ money. I took every step and everything that he said to me, and I started crossing them off one by one. 5 years later, I got nominated in 2022 after I did my Law and Order SVU gig, which was a crazy fluke as well.
How did that happen? How'd you fall into that on-camera appearance?
Yeah, I found it because I have a friend of mine that's an actor who said, you got to be this agent, Sandy Gannar, rest in peace, Avanti talent in New York City, passed away from COVID a couple of years ago. He wanted to meet me, so I went down to New York City. I'm a little north of Albany. And I went down there and we sat down and we interviewed. You know, I brought scripts. I had no idea what you know, I've never sat in front of a big agent before. So I brought scripts down with me, but he listened to my old demo from the Wix website. And that's the one he's listening to. And I'm like, no, don't do that. We talked and he's like, you ever thought about acting? And I said, no. And so he just started putting me out there to like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. What would you do with John Quinones? He put me out for movies like with Ethan Hawke. The one movie with Liam Neeson, Widows. He got me an audition for that. Now here we are, Danny. I'm doing these auditions, and I don't even know what a slate is.
Right.
Like, all right, slate your name. And I'm like, this was from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I didn't know what a slate was, so I had to learn what a slate was. I would go to these auditions, and I would go myself. And you get, 0.3 of a mile from Penn Station to wherever you need to go. You're thinking it's a breeze. Well, I go, I follow it, but now I got to go across the street. So I'm looking at people trying to get somebody to flag me down to get me across because when I went and I followed the directions, Danny, I have the curb and I'm looking at the door I need to get into, but I can't go over the curb because I'm in a wheelchair. I don't have an assistant with me. I'm by myself and I'm looking to my right and my left, and you got to go all the way down half a mile, cross the road, come back down half a mile. So I asked somebody to cross the street with me. Nobody would help me.
Wow.
So I literally took out a $10 bill, held it up in the air because they thought they just passed by me. Like, I can't even tell you, 20 people passed by me, would not help me until I took money out of my wallet, and then they helped me.
Jeez.
They didn't take the money, but that's when they knew that I wasn't homeless or so. I don't even know why they wouldn't help me, but they didn't. So I went over and I would do auditions, and that's how it would happen. I would go to these auditions, and this guy, Sandy, would meet me at the train station. He would meet me and help me get to wherever I needed to go, CBS audition, or he's putting me out for these big, huge auditions, and I had no acting training. I learned by doing. Then finally, I got an audition for that Widows, and I got a call back for it to play Liam Neeson's younger brother, Bobby. And I just missed out on it. I thought I got it. I thought I nailed the callback. And then finally, after a couple of years, some of the casting would remember me, and I got an email out of the blue. Normally, I get Law and Order auditions to play the bad guy. Yeah, I don't know why, but to play one of the SVUs, and I would get some callbacks from Law and Order, but I never crossed that threshold. Then I got an audition from Law and Order from the same casting, would reach out to me and say, hey, can you audition for this? And it was for the jury foreperson. It was a paragraph line, but it was my first billing, and they booked me 2 hours later. I got an email that said, we want you. And I'm like, what? And to be on set around Law and Order, and you see these, idols, and I watched Wu-Tang, the Wu-Tang Saga on Hulu, and one of the guys from Wu-Tang played one of the defensive attorneys. And so now I'm watching him, and, you have Ice-T around. So I am literally absorbing everything. It's a masterclass. And so I learned a lot of my acting skills by doing, Dan. And
the
watching.
Best way to learn.
Right. So now I'm like, oh, man, I want to be acting too. But like, how do you market yourself as an actor? How do you market yourself as a voice actor, a motivational speaker? You have to pick a lane, and it's just all about the grind. Train, learn, buy a piece of equipment here or there. If it wasn't for Bob Bergen telling me everything that I needed to do, and failing and falling down and crashing and getting all of these no's, whether acting or voiceover, it sucks, but it builds your character and it builds your fight. And how bad do you want it? You learn by doing, you learn by failing. Doesn't matter if my disability or not. If my disability wants to get me in the door, great. Nobody's going to hire me because I'm disabled, and nobody's not going to hire me because I'm disabled. But if you're not a pleasure to work with, they're not going to look at you, right? I don't have the best talent. I don't have the best voice or the best personality, but I do have drive. and I do have determination, and I got that in droves. If my life, what I go through, can inspire one person, it's worth it to me. You know, you see these people that have so much money and have fame and fortune, but are they happy? So my goal is to always bring some kind of love. Like if I get good customer service on the phone, I'm going to tell them. If I go to the store and somebody looks nice, I'm going to tell them. Got a nice smile, good personality, I'm going to tell them. A lot of times people only take surveys when they get bad service. They
Right.
don't, you know what I mean? Do they see out a manager to say, hey, this person right here, they're freaking awesome.
Right.
And I do that. I love to do that because I've done too much in my younger years taking from people and doing the wrong thing. Really, my goal, Danny, is to say you can come from doing the wrong thing. You can be locked up. You can do drugs. I was in Gamblers Anonymous at 18 years old for pool hustling. So, I got hustled and then I got threatened and that kind of thing. And I'm not proud of it, Danny, at all. But I say this because you can change just because you come from a bad upbringing, and I had great parents, great parents. I just got involved with some of the wrong people at times. And, when you're growing up, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, at the time it was, doing cocaine or, being a bartender and living the nightlife. I was a good guy. I was a good person, but I sometimes did the wrong thing. Now it's to inspire other people, whether they're disabled or not, to say, you still have a purpose. Just because you were that person doesn't mean you have to stay that person. So what do? Like we talked about before, you pivot. That's a little in a nutshell on my process right now and where I am as a person. And am I where I want to be in my career? No, I have a goal, but I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I feel that like I've gone down the wrong road before and I know how it feels to go down the right road. Take the lumps, take the bruises, take the lashes, take the screw ups, and let it build your character. Let it build your drive.
You know what I love, Doug? You said you might not be where you want to be career wise. You know what? Who gives an F about that? You're where you want to
Yep,
be as a
that's right.
human. That's
Exactly.
what I care about, dude.
That's right. Yeah. But what's funny, Danny, is that I used to be all about myself, like not like on purpose. I switched my life around from, doing what I was doing. I started doing construction. I found out I was really good at construction. I got involved with better friends and people that had my back and started working with this company, Amador Homes. We were on a show with do you remember the Extreme Makeover
I do.
with,
Yeah, I do.
okay, so we did a show way back. I want to say '03. I was one of the main painters for that house,
Wow.
and it was move that bus. I found out I was so good at it: roofing, interior, framing, all of it. I wasn't really a plumber or electrical guy, but I could build a house from the ground up. And I learned that, and I found out I love this. I changed my life to only then break my neck.
Hmm.
Now I have to learn how to go to the bathroom, how to dress yourself, how to comb your hair, how to brush your teeth. There's 5,000 things that you can no longer do. Well, I'm going to take the 50 things that I can still do and try to do it the best I possibly can. That's why I like riding that mechanical bull. That was, something I was like, okay, riding roller coasters. When we go to Disney World or amusement parks, I ask people if they can pick me up and put me on them. Flying on a plane, painting a house, I got paintbrush splints. Maybe that stubbornness, maybe the toughness from my early years has allowed me to be able to say, you know what? Okay, take the nose, take this, but try to find something that you can still do. So, I can still paint. It just takes me a little bit longer, but I'm still tedious when it comes to it. Can't play guitar anymore. Well, what can I do? I can still enjoy the music. That's why I go to a lot of concerts because even if I can't play it, I still want to enjoy it.
Tell us
And
this
I'm right.
mechanical bull story because this was post injury.
Yeah, post injury. Yep, quadriplegic. I was just meeting my girlfriend my fiance now. We went to a club in Albany. There was a mechanical bull there. I was like, I said it just out of fun, shits and giggles. And I was like, hey, I would ride that. Never thought I would ride it, but one of the people that I was with was like, went to go get the manager. Manager came up, says, I hear you want to ride the mechanical bull. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, if you sign this, we'll let you. And I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, so now what? So now open mouth, insert foot. I'm telling you, Danny, within seconds, 2 bouncers come over, pick me up, and carry me up the flight of stairs because the mechanical bull was upstairs. They had no elevator, so these bouncers are picking me up like a king on his throne, carrying me up this flight of stairs. And now everybody downstairs is like, what's going on up there? Why is that wheelchair guy going upstairs? So now the whole club is upstairs wanting to watch what's going to go down. So I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So if we filmed this, we should have filmed it from the beginning. I didn't even think about filming it because I wasn't even like, oh my God, I didn't even think I was going to be riding this bull. But somebody filmed me on it. I still don't even know the person who filmed it, but they filmed it. I'm sure my fiance probably knows. But anyways, they picked me up out of my chair. They dragged me across the the floor. They picked me up and put me on it. Now I have no trunk control. So I leaned forward and hug it by its neck, right? And they turn it on. I slide right off it, fell right on the ground. And so now I'm all like twisted like the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz on the bouncy balance. My left leg's over here, my right leg's over there. And I'm like, can I ride it again? So they bend over, they pick me back up, they put me on this sucker. I lean forward, I hug it by its neck again. I'm like, all right, I'm ready. They turn it on, I fall right off of it again. Now I'm like, oh, screw this. Let's go one more time. Now, these poor guys, I have beads of sweat pouring from their face, Danny, right? And they pick me up and put me back on it again. Now, this is the one. There's 2 of them on YouTube. This one is the one that really changed my life. I'm on this sucker and I'm like, okay, the first 2 times didn't work out. So let me try it again. Instead of leaning over, I grabbed the rope. I wrap my arm in the rope. And I go to put my other left arm up in the air to ride it like a damn cowboy. Like, that's going to work, Danny, right? I mean, I got no trunk control and I got this little rope with my arm, but hugging by its neck didn't work. So let me try sitting up and wrap my arm around it. So I tried that. The bouncers took their hands off of me. The mechanical bull never even turned on. And I fall off the sucker. Now, on the video, right at the end, you can see my left leg go up over and go, and it snapped right in half. My leg snapped right off my hip bone. And to this day, my leg bone is still not attached to my hip because if they did hip surgery, I moved too much that I could pop it back out of place. And now I got screws and stuff loose. They said it would probably be safer not to do the surgery. So still to this day, my mechanical bull rides are over. And I sit with this left leg that's not even attached to my hip. The only thing that's attached to it is the muscles and the ligaments and all that kind of thing, but the bone. So my left leg is actually 2 inches shorter than my right. So like even if I went to stand right now on a standing frame, I wouldn't be able to stand straight up because my left leg's not attached to my hip. But the moral of the story, I got the girl. I got the girl.
Love it.
She thought it was the coolest thing. And so on YouTube, there is a clip of it and you can see it when that leg goes over, you can see that leg just drop. But yeah, that's my mechanical bull ride story. It's a cool story. But I would highly suggest no quadriplegics ride mechanical bulls. Absolutely not.
Boy, that establishment is glad you signed the release for him, aren't they?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. But I'm not that kind of guy to sue. I'm not like that. Like when I fly, they're not ready for me. We made videos and stuff, and they give you this tiny dinky little chair to get onto. I'm 6'5", 280. They don't even have brakes on this thing. Arm bars, the chest straps. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten hurt. And people are like, you should sue. I got yelled at to get off the plane. Sir, we need you off the plane. Okay, well, then help me get off the plane. I mean, if you just got a chair that could go up and down like a stretcher, stretchers can go all the way to the ground. You don't need to make the chair any wider, but that chair is not suitable for a 6'5" guy. They have no straps. They have no chest protection, no arm bars. Just get a little foot extension, some more straps, put some brakes on the sucker, and you'll be fine. We'll get a chair that can go up and down. So I film every time I go flying. I film every airport because you have to direct. And they tell you they want to get you on as fast as possible, not as safe as possible. But there are a lot of people that want to know how to do it. But most people are like, sir, we've done this many times. Just put your arms in and we're going to pick you up. And it's those times that you get hurt. But I would never sue anywhere. My whole thing is bringing awareness to it. 2024, you should make it accommodating for anybody to fly. They're not suitable for people with disabilities. And then, Danny, at the end of the day, you're holding up the plane an hour to get on it. And then you have to go through or off of it. And then you have to go through all the people that are staring at you while you're holding up their plane. pretty humiliating and demoralizing. And, now in 2024, they should have more accessibility, more accommodating equipment. So that's what this video is going to be made for, is to bring awareness, because this is not just an airline or an airport. This is a federal thing. Burbank, California has no tarmac, as you know.
That's right.
They carried me from plane to ground.
Wow.
With one guy rolling me down. The other guy had to carry my legs in his hands to go down to the ground. Then when we got to the ground, he had to pick me up and put me in my chair. What if his back went out picking me up? What if he dropped me? If I have to be the guinea pig to bring more accessibility, more accommodating equipment for airlines, for other people to fly, I would be more than honored to set that trailblazing, because I think that more people with disabilities that are out there need to know that they're special, that they have a talent if they don't give up. That's the big thing. Just don't give up, no matter what you got. A physical illness, a physical ailment, a limitation, a mental illness. You could look like you have it all together, but they might have a mental illness. You don't know. No matter what my disability is, your disability, Danny, or somebody that's got it all together, we all have family drama. We all have something that can stop us from achieving our goals. But you need to find out what brings you comfort, what brings you happiness, and take it step by step, day by day, second by second, minute by minute. Don't look to all the things that are on your to-do list and think that you're going to get them all done. Do it day by day, step by step, piece by piece. And that's how I've done it. I've done it all in stages, and I've done it the hard way, but that hard way is allowing me to help other people to not do it the hard way, for them to feel like they have a purpose. That's really my whole goal. Is my platform is I want to be where I can bring inspiration, encouragement, motivation, a will to let people know not to give up, to let them know that they're special, they have a gift. And that comes with the disability. Now, I was not like that. But I always wondered, why didn't I get hurt when I was a degenerate, when I was a loser, when I was a drug user, or now when I was doing the wrong thing? Why did I have to change my life and then lose a kid and then also break my neck? Now you're separated, and now you're on your own, and you're wondering, will you find love again? What is my goal? What is my purpose? Can I do it? You have to hire assistants, good staff. Finding them, interviewing them, having them start at your home. Can you trust them? And then, because without good assistance, Danny, I don't start my day. So, you have to have balance. So I wake up every morning I have good staff. I treat them well. I make sure that they know they're appreciated. That's a big deal, because without them, there is no Doug. Without my faith, there is no Doug. Whether if it's over the bridge outreach, motivational speaking, acting, voice acting, whatever my platform is supposed to be, it's supposed to be. Who I am is a person who wants to help other people. Whatever my platform takes me, I will be grateful for anything. And I think that if you can be humbled for where you are, you'll know how to handle it for where you're going to be.
Doug, will you walk us through your injury?
I'm a C6, C7 quadriplegic. You really said it really well in your opening. When I dove in shallow water, it was cloudy out. I just wanted to make some people laugh. It was a couple of months before the wedding, so we took a break, went camping with my cousin, and it was raining out, and the waves were coming in, and it looked like they were up to my knees. So I was going to do one of those really quick little shallow dives. I was just wanted to make people laugh, and I went out and I let too far down, and I hit the sandbar, and I remember everything. I never blacked out. And I remember you ever see those cartoons that they step on a piece of ice and then they freeze from it goes up their one leg and then it goes up to their other leg, and now all of a sudden now their whole body's frozen. That's how it happened. It was almost like one leg got paralyzed, the next leg, the other arm. And so I could only move my right arm. So I was trying, because I felt like I was floating out further, and people on the shore thought I was joking. So I couldn't yell for help, because they told me that my diaphragm, they almost had to put a trach in. But they said that you could put a piece of paper through where the spinal cord got hurt, to where the diaphragm almost got pierced, where they would have to put a trach in me. And so I couldn't yell for help. I guess I went under, I came out, my face was bright red. My brother and my cousin picked me up, brought me to the shore, helicoptered over to Syracuse, was there for a week, and then went to Sunnyview rehab for 2 months. I'm one level higher than a paraplegic, which has full upper body. And I'm a couple steps lower, so my hand is open. I can move my wrist. I have full tenodesis, but I have no movement in my fingers. So I can't play guitar, I can't throw a baseball, throw a football, shoot hoops, which sucks for, that's a lot of stuff. But I can still do a lot more than if I broke my neck one level higher, like my buddy did. His hand is closed. So he has to be in a power chair. I'm in a manual chair. So I can do certain things. Yes, I'm not a paraplegic. If I was a paraplegic, I would have more availability to do things. But if my level was one level higher, or if not Christopher Reeve level, I would only be able to move my head. If I broke my neck one level higher than what I did, I would only be able to move my arms and not my hands, and I would need help writing and traveling. And would I be able to drive? I drive myself. Dan, it's one of those things that you had to learn how to adapt. You have doctors, you have therapists, you have all of these things that go on, but you also have a career that you want to do. You have a family. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm with my fiance now that I've been with her for 12 years. Her kids are like mine. I treat them like my own. And so through middle school, through elementary, high school, college, and I've always been there, hands-on, taking care of the dogs, making sure my assistants, what they needed to do for me, for the house, and then still find time. Also while dealing with the disability and trying to do what you can. So some days, Danny, I would have 5 minutes to work in my studio. Some days I wouldn't have any time. Some days I would give 3, 4, or 5 hours because I would have to do shower stuff, bathroom routine. You have to set a schedule. So for me, I needed to have balance, so we're waking up in the morning and you're paralyzed. Well, I need some preacher to talk about God. Then I get up, I go to my hand bike. I bike my 5, 6, 7, 8 miles every morning, read a little scripture. Then I go and I start my day. Unless I have a deadline or something, you have to have balance. If you just keep going and going, you have to find something that you like that brings you peace and comfort, but you got to take it with what you have to work with. So now, I have equipment in my bedroom. So if I need to do a pickup line, or if I need to work or audition, I have a studio that I can set up while I'm in bed. Because if I get somebody at 9 o'clock at night and I'm in bed, I can't just call an assistant to get me up and get me dressed, get into the studio and rip it down. But I can now because I have the equipment to be able to do it from my bed in case I get, a booking or a client or something like that where I didn't have that, but that took stages to get there. My disability, Danny, it is me, but it doesn't define me. It does limit me, but I can also put the limits on it. I can say, you know what? I didn't think I was ever going to do that again. Never thought I would ride a mechanical bull or ride roller coasters or paint or drive. But I'm doing it. Family's first, your health is second. Well, health and family is kind of one and one. And then what you can do for your career. But I don't want my disability to stop me from getting somebody to notice me. I don't want to give up, and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get to wherever I'm supposed to be at the time that I'm supposed to be. But like you said, I need to be who I'm supposed to be. It's all about being Doug first, being healthy first, taking care of your family first, and everything else is second. If you're working, all you're doing is working. What are you working for if you're not spending that time with your kids? And I've gone down that road and I said, you know what? What brings me happiness is not about money. It's not about name. My kids come first. My family comes first. My health comes first. It has to.
How does your disability make you a better father/stepfather?
Oh, man. I think that's also what kind of got me to being who I am, is saying, okay, I have these kids that are not biologically mine. I could be their mom's boyfriend. I don't have to be hands-on with them, but I want it to be. I never thought I could be a father figure. Definitely a learning curve. So, yeah, there's no manual on how to be a good stepdad, but you have to find that line to being their friend and being their father figure. They got their dad. Their dad is a very good father. They're in their life. So I know my role, but they know that they can rely on me. They see the stuff that I go through. Like I was telling you, I got to go to the hospital in a couple of days to do a surgery. Normally, I'm healthy as an ox, bro. But every now and again, it's like I got to go into a hospital, get something done. Like it's almost like bringing your car to get an oil change, You just got to kind of go with it. So I think that like with my kids growing, they're watching me. They're seeing what I'm doing. If I don't give up with what I got going on, that gives them the encouragement to say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. Kids these days get bullied. The kids these days it's a different age than when we were growing up. We played outside until the night lights, street lights came on. And, I don't know if I'm aging myself, but these kids do watch. They pay attention. So my goal is to try to be the best role model as I can be. I'm definitely not perfect. I am by far a perfect person, but I got a big heart for a lot of people. I'm all about my kids. I'm all about strangers. I love to meet people. I love people. I just do. And I feel like that came with the injury. When I was a bartender, I loved people when I was a bartender, but you lived nightlife. When you're a construction worker, it was about my family and growing, but it was more about making money and things to buy and fun things to do. It wasn't really about helping other people until I got hurt, until you realize what's really important in life. Sometimes you have to be faced with that, and then you have to make a choice. So my choice is not to sink. My choice is not to run away. It's to say, okay, I don't like what's going to happen right now, but okay, it's going to give me a better life. That's it. Just be there, show up, and then know your role as a stepdad and father figure. So they know my love for them, but I'm not trying to take their place as their dad. And I think that shows respect. I have never said one bad thing about their father in 12 years. Never. Because I don't think that's right. You shouldn't do that. Again, I just try to lead by example. Sometimes I don't do the right thing, but I feel like most of the time I do.
Do you mind telling us what you're going into the hospital for next week?
No, I don't mind. I was almost going to document it, but I wasn't quite sure. I been having issues with my stomach. I could be hungry or I could have an abscess. It still feels the same. So my stomach has been blowing up into like a beach ball. So I have like all of this air and stuff. And like, so when I drink a bottle of water, it takes a little while to get to my bladder. So I have all of these like things going on inside my stomach. So my intestines are inflamed. So what they want to do is they want to give me a temporary ostomy bag so that my intestines can be unflamed. Everything can get back to normal. Everything can get back healing. And then we would redo the surgery. So they're literally going to give me an ostomy bag for right now. And then I got to relearn how to do that. I'll probably have that for about a year, and then we'll probably reverse it and go back to it. So I've been in the hospital for a couple of big surgeries, but this is probably going to be the biggest one. But it's going to give me a better lifestyle. It's going to give me, I can go out to LA for 7 days and not worry about I have to use the bathroom. However, it's also saying, okay, well, it's only going to be temporary, but now you're going to have an ostomy bag. What's that going to be like? How's that going to work? What's it look like intimately? What's it look like? I like to wear no shirt and go out in the sun. I'm a sun guy. As soon as that springtime sun comes out, I have no shirt on. I have my shorts all the way up and I am basking in that sucker. Got my music on. I love the sun, whatever I can do to be out there in it. So what's that look like? So, you have on one side, better lifestyle. You can go on your trips, go on vacation. You can be there for dinner with your kids. You can work in the studio until 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock because I'm not going to have to worry about getting on the shower chair every day, taking up 3 hours of my day to go to the bathroom and the shower. And again, pivot. Sometimes you got to take those lumps. And this one right here is going to be a pretty big one for me to get through the surgery and then relearning how to do that. And then even though it's going to be a temporary thing, you still have to deal with it. What is it going to be like with an ostomy bag for a year? Well, if it's going to make me live longer, yeah. If it's going to heal my body and so I can sleep better and give me more time to be with my family, yeah. I don't see many 70, 80-year quadriplegics rolling around. So, the longevity thing scares the heck out of you. I'm 46, so I try to stay as young as possible with the things I do. My girlfriend will probably tell me I got the mentality of a 12-year-old, but, that kind of keeps you young, right? You have fun, laugh. Life is too short not to laugh. Find people around you that bring encouragement to you. Laughter for me it just feeds the soul. So I try to be funny. I try to bring awareness to it. It's scary. But again, that fight or flight. At the end of the day, I want to stay alive. I want to live a good life. You're actually one of the first people to know that, Danny. Not a lot of people know that, buddy.
Thank you for being so transparent with us, Doug.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure, Danny. I'm honored to be talking to you, pal. I think you are an inspiration. I think what you are doing with other people, and you are a person that has a thriving life with what you have going on, with your disability, with your illness, with what you have going on. You're still thriving, and you are bringing light to those people. So that should be applauded right there, buddy. So thank you for what you're doing.
And you're a part of that. I mean, here we are. So the applaud is right back to you, brother.
I appreciate you, Danny. And, one day, I think that's why you do what you do, right, Danny? I mean, if your show can inspire one person, it's worth it.
You mentioned the importance of purpose. What would your advice be to someone listening to this show who has a pretty severe disability and is lacking any sort of purpose, what would you say to that person?
Don't give up. Jimmy Valvano says it the best during his ESPY speech. Laugh, think, love, don't give up. And sometimes that's hard with a disability. Maybe they don't have the right family members encouraging them. They could be surrounded by the negativity of family. They could be surrounded by not having the right assistance. They could be surrounded by having assistance, but not the good ones. And then also they have their disability. So they have their disability that's stopping them, surroundings that might be hindering them, their income that might be hindering them, because people with disabilities, Danny, don't make a lot of money. It's hard to fulfill a purpose when a lot of people with disabilities rely on transportation from the government, county. I'm very blessed that I have my own vehicle. Not a lot of people do. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel bad. You are human. You are not a robot. Find something that inspires you. So whether if it's God, yoga, Buddha, find something that's bigger than you that you can look at that can bring you peace, that gives you happiness. Because if you're around people that are only bringing you down, how can you find your purpose? My word to somebody is that you have a purpose. You might not see it. You might have one that you feel that it's out of my reach. No, it's not. Envision it. Speak about it. Put it on a vision board. Manifest it. Talk about it. Law of attraction. I am such a big believer in law of attraction. I feel if you look at life that it's half full, things will happen. Maybe not on your timetable. Just don't give up. Take those lashes. Keep picking yourself back up. Me, it's music. It's sports. I love sports. I still watch them. Find something that encourages you and makes you have fun. Laugh. Find somebody that makes you laugh. Find somebody that encourages you, inspires you. Try to find the silver lining in your dark days, no matter what you got going on. You just can't give up.
Doug, you talked about how you make sure the folks you work with know that they're appreciated. And I just want to say how appreciated you are, brother. Thank you for being you.
I appreciate that, bub. I appreciate that. I think that you got a gift, buddy. And you do. You have what you're doing is changing lives, bro. I'm just trying to do mine, so thank you.
Guys, you can check out Doug at his website, thevoquadfather.com. Also on Instagram, _VO_quadfather. Doug, absolute pleasure. And I cannot wait to give you a hug in person, man.
Likewise, Danny. Likewise, man. God bless you, buddy. Thank you so much for what you do. And thank you for having me on your show, pal.